I just want to note that all breakout room activity is being recorded. And tonight I am joined by Alex Rixey from our project team. Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, thanks. I'm Alex Rixey. I'm with Fair and Peers. We're transportation planning consultants, and I am the deputy project manager for the consultant team for the project. So I'm really excited to get your feedback this evening. I'll be mostly off of camera to let Tim hold the focus, but I'll be chiming in at various points to help clarify some things. So really looking forward to hearing your feedback.
Thanks, Alex. So if you're just joining us, thank you for joining the Central Breakout Room. My name's Tim Cook. I'm from Aceto Consulting, work on the outreach team for the MPOT 2035. We're going to get started in just a minute. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 participants. So that is a good number to have some really good engaging discussion and feedback. If you have not already, if you're using a web browser, you can go to slido.com and enter in the code MPOT 2035, letter C as in central, and the number 3. And that will bring you to our Slido when we get to our first question. If you want to use your camera to scan the QR code will come up when we get to our first question. And I'll remind folks about that again. So it is now 6:27. I'm going to give everyone just another 30 seconds and then we will get started. We have about 60 minutes slotted for this session, but we will make sure that you get your questions answered. So if we have to go a little bit longer, that's okay. This presentation will take about an hour though. Then we have 8 interactive questions. And if when we get to the first Slido question, if Slido for whatever reason is not working for you, we ask that you put your answer in the chat. We'll take it there. And because of the size of the group we have, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we have 6 attendee participants, we'll also allow folks to come off of mute and give a verbal answer if that's easier as well. So with that, let's get started. As mentioned in the main room presentation, community feedback is essential to the MPOT planning process. We began soliciting feedback in the fall during the agency and municipal meetings. In this breakout room, we will present on 6 major transportation themes and we'll share the initial feedback we received on these themes from the fall. And then the fun part, it's your turn. We want to know your thoughts on the themes and the previous feedback we received. Please post any questions you have in the chat. We'll have a brief Q&A period at the end of the presentation. With that, let's get started. Here in the central breakout room, we divided Prince George's County into north, central, and south. The central breakout room has US 50 as its northern boundary, has Maryland 4 as its southern boundary, and also includes a portion of the Capital Beltway 495. Maryland 214 runs centrally in the central area of Prince George's County. So the first theme tonight that we're going to talk about is active transportation. So what is active transportation? Active transportation is the transport of people or goods through non-motorized means based around human physical activity. So what we mean is biking, walking, skateboarding, roller skating. So the 3 questions we asked the agency and municipal leaders in the fall were, what are the biggest impediments to building new trails? What are the most significant gaps in the trail system? And how can the master plan of transportation help improve trail development and trail maintenance? And so the preliminary feedback we got from the agency staff and municipal leaders was the following. So the impediments that they saw for existing and future rail trails and paths included political priorities and funding realities, lack of ownership regarding maintenance, difficulties finding available right-of-way and property information, and lack of trail connectivity. Trail system gaps identified were in Laurel, Hyattsville in the Chilham area into DC, Rhode Island Avenue and Charles Armentrout Drive intersection, and then state road crossings at Maryland 193, Maryland 202, and Maryland 201. Suggested improvements included reassessing current trails and encouraging maintenance schedules, creating uniform wayfinding and lighting, and educating the public about active transportation. And with that, we get to our first question. In your view, what is missing from active transportation feedback? So again, if you are on your computer and you're in a browser and you're in another tab, you can go to slido.com and put in MPOT 2035 C3. Or if you are on a tablet or a phone, you can use your camera and scan the QR code, and that will take you to the Slido website, and that will allow you to type in your answers. So I'm going to give everyone, folks, a minute or so to get logged into Slido. This is the preferred method of getting your feedback. If anyone's having trouble with that, you can drop your answer in the chat, or we welcome you to come off of mute to give a verbal answer. As you see in the top right-hand corner, it'll tell us the number of active participants who have given us feedback. The feedback will also obviously show up on the screen. So in your view, what is missing from active transportation feedback? And let me ask Alex to come back in to maybe give a few talking points to maybe spur the discussion inside of your head.
Sure thing. Yeah, and as Tim mentioned earlier, we're considering all sorts of active transportation. So walking and biking tend to be the big ones, but also thinking about micromobility, thinking about folks who use assistive devices to get around, if that's a walker or a wheelchair or a motorized chair. Those are all kind of falling in the users of the active transportation facilities.
Thanks, Alex. So we got our first piece of feedback. Doesn't seem to have too much.
Has to be that way.
Doesn't seem to have too much discussion of active transportation in the central county. Yes, this area, does have a few different, is a little bit suburban, a little bit rural. It's a little bit of a mix. There should be more bike share, especially at Largo Metro Station. Should be easier to bike to PG Community College. That's a great comment. We really, really like detailed comments like that we can take back as specific actionable items. Give everybody, we have a phone participant. If the phone participant would like to answer the question verbally, that's absolutely fine with us. The first question is, in your view, what is missing from active transportation feedback? And if you don't have an answer for a question, that's fine. You can stay muted. That's absolutely fine as well. Give about 30 more seconds. See if there's any
I don't
additional.
need to answer that.
Okay, so we have another answer. I'm not aware of bike paths near me in Kettering, but that's not.
That is supposed to say,
Yeah, maybe they
not
meant to say identified,
in the list
listed
of
as a gap.
places where there are gaps.
Okay, gotcha. But thank you for clarifying, and we will ask it as we go along in the Slido. Yeah, if there's if we need a little bit more detail about your comment, yeah, you can come right off of mute just like that. We appreciate that. So okay, we will. That's a good comment. Thank you very much. So we've only had 2 people of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folks in the breakout room provide an answer. So I'll give everybody 30 more seconds, and if we don't have any more answers, we'll move on to our second theme.
Yes, let's do it. I don't care about feedback.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to theme number 2. Vision Zero. What is Vision Zero? Vision Zero is the countywide strategy to achieve zero fatalities and serious injuries on roadways by 2040. Prince George's County recognizes that the loss of even one life or serious injury on our roads is unacceptable. The data-driven approach of Vision Zero reveals that vehicle crashes are predictable and thus preventable. Crash data shows that there is a clear need for safety improvements on our roadways. The key to success in achieving Vision Zero is a combined approach using the 6 essential elements for a safe transportation system. So there's 2 approaches to vision. Well, there's the traditional approach, and then there's Vision Zero. So the traditional older approach said traffic deaths are inevitable. Vision Zero says that traffic deaths are all preventable. In the traditional aspect, Vision Zero, traditional says that perfect human behavior is expected to avoid crashes. Vision Zero acknowledges that there will be human failure and incorporates that into the approach for preventing fatal and severe crashes. The traditional approach just talks about preventing collisions. Vision Zero wants to prevent fatal and severe crashes. The traditional approach always looked at this as an individual responsibility. Vision Zero looks at it as a system-wide approach, that we all are in this together, and it's about the community and a system approach to saving lives. And then the traditional approach said saving lives is expensive. Vision Zero says that saving lives is not expensive. So the 3 questions we asked the county that we asked the county agencies and municipal leaders back in the fall were, what are some of the impediments to implementing Vision Zero? How can the master plan of transportation help achieve Vision Zero goals? And are there safety improvements in one part of the county that you would like to see in another region? The feedback we got from those fall meetings were the impediments when it comes to Vision Zero include limited funding and political will, education and driver behaviors, wide roads, and lack of collaboration. So how can the MPOT help achieve Vision Zero? It can encourage public participation and interagency coordination. It can also incorporate safety infrastructure into development proposals. So the groups in the fall would also like to see more pedestrian facilities, protected bike lanes, tactical urbanism, and improved urban design standards and roadways. With that, we come to our second question. So in your view, what is missing from Vision Zero feedback? And once again, I'll ask Alex to jump in to maybe get the conversation started a little bit. What is missing from Vision Zero feedback?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So as Tim was saying, Vision Zero is all about eliminating traffic fatalities and severe injuries. And so we'd love to hear your thoughts on safety concerns within Prince George's County from a transportation perspective. There's a piece of feedback that looks more like a question. I'm happy to answer that. So the question is, what is tactical urbanism? Tactical urbanism is near-term implementation of transportation infrastructure. So it's an approach to try to get things on the ground more quickly than you would with a full study and construction. So it might use less permanent materials. It could be a quick installation of a transit lane or a bike lane, for example. But it's an approach to more quickly getting infrastructure on the ground.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Are there any anyone who has, are there any safety concerns? Are there any other areas, throughout the county that, areas where there's been safety implemented that you'd like to see down here, or vice versa? Our second comment, need safer ways to walk and bike, so people can do that. Yep, that is something that's been an overarching theme over these last 3 nights. This is the third of 3 meetings this week. Better intersection night lights and sound alerts for the vision impaired. That's a great comment. Thank you. The sound alerts for the vision impaired is a great comment, and we will definitely take that back to the team. So I'll give everyone another minute and a half to get any feedback. Like I said before, if you are having, for whatever reason, trouble with Slido, please feel free to drop your answer into the chat, or you can come off of mute and give us your answer verbally. Coordination with SHA and insisting on their cooperation in achieving Prince George's County Vision Zero goals. Yep, and that speaks right back to the interagency coordination. The Prince George's County isn't just in this alone. Maryland has adopted Vision Zero as a statewide implementation, and working at the city, county, and state and federal levels will obviously help Vision Zero, help us achieve Vision Zero by 2040. So I'll give about 30 more seconds, see if we have 3 comments out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folks in here. So, 3 or 4 responses is always, it's always good. We're here to get your feedback. That is why we're here, and that's what we want. Seems like we need more specifics about where the accidents happen to target intervention. That's a very good comment. We have that data. Vision Zero is very much a data-driven approach. And Alex, do you have anything more to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to note that, yes, crash data analysis is an important part of implementing Vision Zero. So that's spot on. Thank you for that feedback.
So give another 15, 20 seconds, and then we'll move on to our third theme. Appreciate everybody who has provided their feedback so far. Again, you can do so in the chat. And as we get towards the end once we get to the end of the meeting, I'll also provide you guys other avenues to provide feedback. If you wake up tomorrow and have something that popped into your head that you wanted to tell us, there'll be ways that you can get that information over to us very easily. So give me 1 second here, and we will move on to the next question, the next theme. All right, so transit is our third theme of the night. So what is transit? So in this study, transit is defined as motorized public transportation, such as buses, bus rapid transit, and rail transit. So the MPOT's going to do 4 things. It's going to identify 4 different things. First is it's going to identify locations within the county that can be considered high congestion / low transit corridors. It's going to identify best practices for addressing transportation concerns in these corridors. It's going to identify transit infrastructure that may require additional infrastructure to achieve long-term mode share goals. And it's also going to identify the next large-scale transit corridor in the county and identify additional potential future bus transit corridors. So the 2 transit questions we asked to the municipal and agency leaders in the fall were, where do you see transit in Prince George's County in the next 5, 10, 15 years? And then the second question was, what are your priorities, concerns, and opportunities for transit? So the transit feedback we got from the fall meetings included what people wanted to see in the next 5 to 15 years. And what they wanted to see was a wider transit network, more frequent service and late night weekend service, connecting transit-oriented development areas, better pedestrian facilities to increase transit ridership, reorienting development to the street. And then their transit priorities included the following: equity of access. And this isn't the last time you're going to hear about equity, as we think it's a pretty important part of the MPOT. Connecting workers to jobs, dealing with the quote unquote last mile problem. And let me define last mile for you. So last mile in transportation planning is the last leg of a journey comprising the movement of people and goods from a transportation hub to a final destination. And the fourth priority is focusing on a connected road system. And then the last was reliability and ease of use. So with that, we come to our third question. In your view, what is missing from transit feedback? Do we not have enough connections from the metro to bus? Feedback, just different examples like that. So I'll give folks a few minutes and I'll welcome back Alex here to provide a little bit more context as well.
Yeah, we'd love to hear any feedback you have about opportunities you see for transit in Prince George's County. If there are things that in particular would be helpful for you, if you are a current transit user or someone who's interested in using transit, or just have thoughts on ways to encourage more use of transit in the county, those would all be great things to hear. And if you have concerns as well, we'd love to hear those.
Again, if you aren't able to use Slido for whatever reason, please feel free to drop your comment in the chat, or you can come off of mute and we will be happy to take your comment verbally. So in your view, what's missing from transit feedback? Okay, so this first answer is, again, a theme that we've been hearing over all 3 nights. It's 5 miles to the metro station and the bus takes an hour to get to the metro. And, that becomes an accessibility issue, a time issue. It's no use using or not no use, but it makes it harder to use transit if it's not on time and fast and reliable. So I'll give another 60 seconds or so to folks. All right, I think this was mentioned, but 1, safe routes to transit, and 2, frequent bus connections. Yep, and that's exactly the kind of feedback that we want. Yep, safe routes to transit, that's part of that last mile. Sometimes you get 9/10 of the way from your destination to your home, and then there's no sidewalk, or there's, the bus stop is, 2 miles away, and it's unsafe to walk at night because it's not well lit. Another answer was weekend and evening cuts to schedules are really a problem. And that's something, thank you, that's good detailed feedback that we will definitely, bring back to the team as we distill and go through all of the feedback that we've learned over the last 3 nights. 1, 2. All right, here's a really detailed piece of feedback. Safe bus stop for people going to Six Flags. Why can't the bus go inside and drop off people instead of trying to cross Maryland 214? Then they need to triple the length of the bus stop going to the metro because it's terrible in its current state. No lights, not safe at all. Thank you. That is perfect. Really, really detailed feedback. That's a really specific item that we will take back to the team to hopefully address. And then our last piece of feedback was specifics needed about the last mile, solutions needed.
Yeah, that's a great piece of feedback. I'd be curious. So we, as the consultant team, are going to be doing a review of last mile solutions from around the country, but would really be curious if there are particular things in your experience or here in Prince George's County that you think would be helpful with that last mile problem. Definitely, your local knowledge is extremely valuable as well.
Yeah, so if you want to drop that into the Slido as follow up, that's absolutely fine. We have safe, comfortable bus stops and stations in general. Many stops are inches from the highway. Thank you. That's another piece of very detailed feedback. That's very important. Thank you. And then we have someone saying that more bike share, which again is another theme that we've seen come up over the last couple nights. Bike share, motorized vehicles, to get to and from transit locations. All right, I'll give another 30 seconds because we did have some, later comments, and I don't want anyone to miss out because once we move to the next slide, you can't answer the question until we get to the next one. So I'll, like I said, about 30 more seconds, and then we will move on to our fourth theme of the evening. Okay, hey Nakia, can you come off of mute and tell the caller how to unmute themselves just in case they want to? Or actually, the caller is gone, so they have dropped off into a different room. That's okay. The last mile needs safe bike routes, and that's very true. That's that's another piece of feedback. Definitely appreciate that, and we'll bring that back to the team. So if I don't see anything in the next 15 seconds or so, I'll move on to our fourth theme of the night and continue on in the presentation. Thank you for the detailed feedback for this question.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Is there going to be an increase in transit in the downtown Largo area when it comes to the fact that there's going to be some building there? Will there be an increase of, and I mean, there's already a metro station there, but bus routes, will there be an increase of that around that area?
That is a good question. Alex, can you give some thoughts to that?
Yeah, the analysis isn't complete yet, but that's definitely something we'll be considering. And so if that's part of your I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you're interested in additional transit service for Largo, that's definitely great feedback that we can take back with us.
In the same vein, I hope that people are working on adequate transportation to the hospital by transit, and even shuttle bus from the Largo metro station to the hospital. I mean, maybe that's already in the works, but we have that people with mobility issues can't necessarily walk even that short distance from the metro to the hospital. So that needs to be easy for people to, even with mobility issues, to get that distance.
Thank you, Janet. I got that written down, and we will put that in the feedback. The adequate transit to the hospital and shuttle bus from the metro to the hospital in Largo. Thank you very much for that piece of feedback. All right, last call for feedback on question number 3. And if not, we will move on. Thank you very much. This is the type of feedback that will help us the most, with you guys sharing your personal feedback from the communities that you live in. All right, so here we go. All right, roadways is our fourth theme of the night. So roadways. The MPOT's going to do 4 things. It's going to evaluate the master plan right-of-way for all roadway classifications. So that's county and state roads, and I guess local jurisdiction roads. Identify where additional roadways should be proposed for future construction. assess existing and identify possible designation of scenic and historic roadways, and identify roadways that may require additional infrastructure to support an adequate level of service for current or expected load share. Excuse me, thank you for letting me have that sip of water. The two questions we asked back in the fall meetings with the agencies and the municipal leaders were, what roadway elements and factors has Prince George's County seen since 2009 that would impact the roadway facility recommendations in the new MPOT? And two, what specific issues or considerations should be addressed in the update for the MPOT as part of the scenic and historic road designation process or application of special design standards for these designated roadways? I know that second question is maybe definitely two questions in one, maybe even more. And so let's see what the feedback was from the agency leaders and municipal leaders. So the factors that have changed since the 2009 MPOT include budgetary constraints and more maintenance, right-of-way widths for utilities, trails, and bike lanes, federal infrastructure money, more accidents, an increased emphasis on non-vehicular travel and electric vehicles, changing growth and commute patterns, and changing corridors, including going from rural roads to roads such as US 1, US 301, and Maryland 4, where they can change in and out of rural, suburban, and even urban areas. The scenic and historic roadway considerations include three things: driver and bicycle safety, accommodating utilities, and the need for a quantifiable scale to designate scenic roadways. So with that, we are at our fourth question. So in your view, what is missing from the roadways feedback? Do we need more safety in terms of enforcement? Do we need to slow drivers down? What's missing? And I'll let Alex chime in here with a couple of talking points.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll be doing some quantitative analysis looking at the traffic volumes on the roadways and comparing those to their capacity. But again, having your lived experience in Prince George's County is really helpful to know what's important to you in terms of the performance of the roadways and any concerns you might have about roadways.
Thank you, Alex. So we got our first answer, electric vehicle charging network. Yep, that's very important. If you want to use an electric car and you want to use it regularly, it's no use if you don't have a means of charging it throughout the area that you're driving. So that's a good piece of feedback.
Yeah, and there is a sustainability element proposed for the MPOT, and we'll definitely be looking into electric vehicles and charging. I think we'll touch on sustainability in a little bit as well.
Yep, we're gonna get to sustainability, I think, in theme 5 or 6, definitely. So what else is missing from roadways feedback? And again, if you've got the design for automated vehicles, that's a really good comment. Yes, as we continue to design roadways, we got to keep up with where the latest technology for cars is, and make sure our roadways can accommodate the ever changing and expanding technology that are coming with automated vehicles. That's a great comment. Thank you very much for that piece of feedback.
I just wanted to say also designated bus lanes. I lost my other thing here.
Thank you. Designated bus lanes on roadways. All right, Alex, question for you. So who decides what roads are scenic and what roads are up for adoption? The roads they give organizations are the worst. So we'll take that. We'll definitely take the first part of that question there.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback. And Lardner Klein, who's on the consultant team, is focused on the scenic and historic roadways piece, and part of the existing conditions report that they'll be assembling is looking at the criteria for the designation of scenic and historic roadways. So if you have particular thoughts on criteria for what constitutes a scenic or historic roadway, we'd love to hear that too, because that'll inform their work.
And so then we also have another comment. So inside the Beltway, the first focus on roadways should be multimodal, ensuring walkability, sidewalks, crosswalks, etc., undergrounding utilities, better pedestrian lighting. That's a great comment. Thank you. That's exactly the type of detailed feedback we're looking for. This is another one that we've seen, I believe, all 3 nights, that litter on roadways is becoming much worse recently. And that's something that we've heard over the last couple nights, and we're taking that back with all of this feedback as well. And I just want to mention, I did write down the designated bus lanes on roadways from our verbal comments, so we will make sure to include that. So give everyone 30 more seconds or so. Need shade for sidewalks so walking is more feasible. That's a really good comment. I think that'll also come up when we get to our sustainability discussion. But that's a very good piece of feedback, and very much appreciated. All right, so I don't see any more comments in the next 15 seconds or so. Okay, so we got another question. Who is responsible for 197 in Bowie? And I'm assuming that means what agency is responsible for the maintenance of that road? And Alex, if you could answer that for us.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know off the top of my head. I imagine if that's a state route, that might be SHA, but I think it's something we can take back to the team and follow up. Yep,
that is what we definitely will do. I do believe it is a state route, so I believe it is SHA, although there are intersections where sometimes the maintenance gets a little bit murky in terms of who officially owns it. So that's a great question. Thank you. We will make sure that we get that question addressed and get an answer for you. All right. So with that, oh no, we got some more. So this is great. Thank you for this. All right, so our next comment said less funding should go to highways and more to transit and pedestrian facilities. And again, that's something that we've heard over the last couple nights and is something we're bringing back to our team. A lot of really good feedback from what is missing for the roadways feedback question in this theme. So appreciate everyone. Again, you can feel free to use the chat or feel free to come off of mute if you want to provide any additional comments. So with that, let's move to the 5th theme tonight. Oh no, first we're going to do a check-in. So it is 7:04. We are about 38 minutes into the presentation in this breakout room. So we're aiming for about 60 minutes. But like I said at the beginning of the meeting, if we need to go a little bit over to answer your questions, that's fine. And if we have to go a little bit over because we're getting a lot of feedback for the questions that we're asking, that's absolutely fine as well. All right, so theme number 5, sustainability. So how does sustainability apply in transportation? Sustainable transportation refers to any means of transportation that is quote unquote green and has low impact on the environment. Sustainable transportation is also about balancing our current and future needs. So some examples of sustainability in transportation: improving freight efficiency, increasing public transportation, enhancing electric vehicle infrastructure, utilizing green construction, maximizing smart growth, integrating land use, promoting green highways, and supporting bike-friendly communities. So when we met with the agencies and municipality leaders in the fall, we asked them this question. Sustainability can have many meanings. Which of these aspects of sustainability have the most significant impact on your agency? And so there's three main answers here, and I'll read them off, and then I'll give a definition for each, because sustainability does have many different meanings. So there's environmental sustainability, which encourages practices that reduce the environmental impacts from transportation systems, such as greenhouse gas emissions, pollutants, and stormwater runoff. There's fiscal sustainability, which ensures the availability of resources for the ongoing operation and long-term maintenance of transportation investments. And then there's social/cultural sustainability, which ensures that transportation infrastructure provides equitable benefits for all users and does not create disparate impacts on communities in the county. And I said earlier that equity would be coming back up, and you're gonna hear that again and again as we go through our sustainability talk. So the agencies all saw this the same way. In fact, they saw environmental sustainability at exactly the same percentage, 47%, and that was the number one most significant impact on their agency or municipality. Fiscal sustainability was second. It was a little bit more important to the agencies, and then cultural/social sustainability was a little bit more important to the municipality leaders. So then we asked both the agencies and municipalities, what other aspects of sustainability are important to you? And some of the answers they gave are maintenance, economic sustainability, the state of good repair, infrastructure, the life of the project, operational resiliency, supply chain, and equity. So with that, we come to question number 5, and that is sustainability can have many meanings. Which of these aspects of sustainability have the most significant impact on you? And we ask you to choose your top 3. And they are environmental, fiscal, cultural/social, maintenance, economic, and resiliency. Let me see if there's one more. And there's also equity and supply chain. So if you're on Slido, if you can pick your top 3 answers. If you're not on Slido and you want to give us your verbal top 3, please feel free to do so. So
What do you mean when you say resiliency?
that's a good question. Let me bring back Alex and he can talk about resiliency.
Yeah, resiliency is really speaking to the ability of the whole transportation system to respond if there's any sort of incident. And so that could be something, terrorism or homeland security related, but more increasingly the kinds of threats that we're seeing are climate change related. So if there's a heavy storm event or a flooding event, how many options do people have? How many alternative routes, alternative modes do people have? Or even in this time of year, a snow event, would people have to be able to get to their destinations? So sort of when the system is stressed, how resilient is it to be able to continue to function?
Thank you, Alex. Did that answer the question, Janet?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
All right, so we got 4 people who've responded. So equity is in the lead here. It's the leader at 75%, a 3-way tie for second with environmental, economic, and resiliency. And then fiscal sustainability is in 3rd place. So that's 4 people answering. I'm gonna give about 30 seconds for any more answers. If you'd like to give them in the chat or give them verbally, that's fine as well. Right. All right, we got one more answer. So we got 5. That's really good. Equity still at 80%, environmental sustainability at 60, and then a 3-way tie for cultural/social, economic, and resiliency. All righty, so thank you folks very much for that feedback. And if I don't see any movement in the next 15 seconds, we'll move along to our 6th and final theme of the night. All righty. So our 6th theme of the night is goals and success indicators. So the elements of a successful transportation system, question and feedback. We asked the public agencies and the municipalities question back in the fall and goes, what are the key elements of a successful transportation system for your agency? And this came out in the form of a word cloud where the bigger the word, the more the people said the same answer. So as you can see, for both the agencies and municipalities, safety was high up on the priority list. Accessibility was also very, very important for the municipalities. Then multimodal and efficiency and access were runners up in terms of being right at the top. Some of the other answers were equity, right of way, congestion, connectivity, walkability, shorter trips, adequate right of way for utilities, multimodality. We talked about multimodality a second ago. Public transportation, a very specific one, pedestrian safety along 193, connectivity, efficient, safe, mass transit, handicapped accessible. That's something we heard earlier. We heard that in the 3rd theme in regards to adequate transit to the hospital in Largo from the metro and from a shuttle bus potentially from the metro to the hospital. So we then asked a follow-up question, and that was Prince George's Plan 2035 identified several transportation-related themes. Please rank the themes in order of importance to your agency/municipality. So again, the number 1 answer for both was safety. Safety was paramount to both the agencies and the municipalities. But their answers after that went a little bit differently. The agencies saw multimodality and accessibility as their 2nd and 3rd, while the municipality saw accessibility and multimodality in the other order. And then both had affordability as 4th and energy efficiency 5th. So that brings us to our 6th question, and that is the one we just read. Prince George's Plan 2035 identified several transportation-related themes. Please rank the themes in order of importance to you. So if you are in Slido, let me welcome back Alex, and he can give a little bit more information as you are inputting your information into Slido.
How do
Yeah,
we,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
how do we indicate rank? Excuse
So
my,
no problem. Are you on a computer, tablet, or a phone?
on a phone.
Phone. So you're using, okay. So you just click the circle next to, let's say energy efficiency is your first choice. You just click the circle next to it and that'll make it your number 1 choice. So then.
So it's the order in which you tap them.
Correct.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
got it.
And then when you get them up, you can move them around. There's a little slider on the right. It's a little harder on a smaller phone device, a little easier on the tablet. And so let me go back to Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So just in case any of these are a little unclear, accessibility we're talking about here is the idea of the transportation system giving you access or connecting you to the places that you need to travel. Affordability is about individual affordability. So for the traveler, what is the total cost of getting around Prince George's County and the region? Energy efficiency is about the energy that's expended to provide the transportation service, whether that's coming from fossil fuels or other energy sources. How efficiently is that being used? And multimodality is about having multiple different modal options to travel. So that might be driving, transit, walking, biking, etc. And then, of course, safety is reducing or eliminating the harm that comes to people from the transportation system.
All right, so thank you, Alex. So we've got three responses. Safety is at number one. We've got accessibility and affordability tied for second, with multimodality third, and energy efficiency in fifth, and with no votes for other. And we will have a couple of questions coming up that have other as a potential answer. So if you do answer other, when we get to those questions, please feel free to unmute or put in the chat, what you specifically want to say about other. Give everybody another. There's our fourth response. Safety still at the top, affordability now second by itself, accessibility third, multimodality fourth, and energy efficiency fifth. And I don't remember 100% from the last two nights, but I think this pretty much fits a similar pattern that we saw. Safety is always at the top, and I think affordability is always in that second category as well. All right, so give everybody about 30 more seconds, and then we'll move on to our next question, unless there's another question. Janet, did you have another question?
No.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. All righty. All righty. Don't see any more answers coming in, so we'll move to our next question. So we asked, again, the agencies and the municipalities, a more specific, what are your top three transportation equity concerns? And so the answers that were provided were affordability, accessibility, mobility, need, ability, and then other. And for other, on the agency side, it was safety, in that traffic injury/deaths are inequitably distributed. And then sustainability was the other answer for the municipalities. So some of those equity concerns were already defined on a past slide. When we get to our question, we'll define any of the new ones, or if anyone needs a refresher on any of the ones we've already talked about. With that, what are your top three transportation equity concerns in Prince George's County? Again, the five answers are ability, accessibility, affordability, mobility, and other. And if your answer is other, if you could come off of mute and let us know what that answer is, that would be very helpful. So I'll give a minute or so to let people type in their answers into Slido. Then we'll read them off, and then we will move on. The top three transportation equity concerns. Our first person's chimed in with accessibility being one, affordability being two, and mobility being three. Thank you for that answer. Second person, we now have accessibility and affordability tied at first with other. at third, and if the person who answered other, if they wouldn't mind either coming off of mute or putting that in the chat, that would be helpful.
That's exposure to air pollution
Great.
in
Thank you.
neighborhoods where there's a lot of diesel traffic.
Exposure to air pollution. All right, got it. Thank you very much for that. All right, so we got 4 people who have responded. We have a tie for first, accessibility and affordability are 1. Mobility and other are tied for 3, with other being an exposure to air pollution. And no votes for ability. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is almost the full group. That is great feedback. Thank you all for providing that. So let's move on. So Prince George's Plan 2035 identified several transportation-related success indicators. Please rank the indicators in the order of importance to your agency/municipality. So for the number 1, both the agencies and the municipalities said increasing bicycle and pedestrian facilities constructed was number 1. They deviated a little bit when it came to the next answers. The agencies said increasing non-auto mode share. And when we get to our question, before we start answering it, I'll bring back Alex and he's going to define some of these terms such as non-auto mode share, decreasing vehicle miles traveled, maintaining level of service. He'll tell you about what level of service is. Increasing housing and transportation affordability was the top 5 things that the agencies asked for in terms of importance for success indicators. Municipalities said the bicycle and pedestrian facilities as well, and then said increasing housing and transportation affordability was 2, maintaining level of service was 3, reducing greenhouse gas emissions was 4th, and increasing non-auto mode share was 5th. So with that, we come to our 8th question of the evening, and that is Prince George's Plan 2035 identified several transportation-related success indicators. Please rank the indicators in order of importance to you. And before we do that, I'll have Alex jump in with some definitions because a few of these are a little bit, not jargony, but a little bit more technical.
Yeah, so for some of those more technical terms, vehicle miles traveled is exactly what it sounds like. So it's a measure of the total amount of miles traveled by automobiles within Prince George's County. Maintaining level of service. Level of service is a planning and engineering term that's an auto-oriented measure of the performance of the roadways. And so it's a ratio of the volume of vehicles that are traveling on a roadway to the capacity of that roadway. And so that could be either at the intersection level or on the segments of roads themselves. We talked a little bit about affordability earlier. And so this is, again, the affordability to individuals of traveling. Bicycle and pedestrian facilities constructed. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward, just the construction of new facilities dedicated for bikes and pedestrians. Non-auto mode share is a little bit complex. So mode share is the percent of trips that are made using different kinds of transportation. So driving, walking, biking, transit. And for this measure, the report from Prince George's Plan 2035, the 5-year update, used the measure of the commute mode share, so the way that travelers get to work. So driving in a car would be auto mode share, and any other way would be non-auto mode share. And that includes transit, walking, biking, and also working from home would be part of non-auto mode share. The part about increasing commuting patterns to and within the county, the idea behind this in Plan 2035 was about better balancing the job opportunities that are available within Prince George's County, so that workers were traveling into Prince George's County to work, and that residents of the county could remain within Prince George's County to work, as opposed to residents traveling outside of the county for work. So kind of increasing that balance. And then for greenhouse gas emissions, the measure that's used is tons of carbon dioxide.
Thank you, Alex. Yep, thank you for defining all of those. So if you all will put these, please rank these indicators in the order of importance to you. If you're on Slido on a mobile or tablet, you just click the little circle next to your first choice, and that'll put it at number 1, and go down the list until you've ranked all 7. So we got our first answer in, and the number 1 answer is increasing commuting patterns to and within the county with maintaining level of service. Second, and increasing bicycle and pedestrian facilities constructed in third, with transportation affordability right next. All right, we got 3 answers in now. That's changed the order. So number 1 is increasing bicycle and pedestrian facilities constructed, followed closely by increasing non-auto mode share, and then increasing commuting patterns to and within the county is tied with reducing greenhouse gas emissions, with transportation affordability and decreased vehicle miles traveled coming in at the bottom. So I'll give about 30 more seconds for everyone to answer. This is our last question of the evening, last feedback question of the evening. We will, as I said, take any additional questions or comments or feedback that you have when we get done with this presentation. All right, so our 4th answer, we stay at increasing bicycle and pedestrian facilities constructed. We've got increasing non-auto mode share at 2nd. Affordability moves into a tie for 3rd, with increasing commuting patterns to and within the county. And then decreasing vehicle miles traveled and reducing greenhouse gas emissions tied for.
You really ought to have another thing in there about accident rates. You know, the whole Vision Zero concept is missing from that list of success indicators.
That is a good piece of feedback. Thank you. I'm writing that down. Just in case anyone didn't get that comment was that accident rates / just Vision Zero in general should be considered for one of the success indicators for the Prince George's Plan 2035. So thank you, Janet, for that comment as well. All right, 5 people have submitted their feedback. We will move on. All right, so our engagement timeline. September of 2021, we had the Active Transportation Advisory Group that we talked about a lot over this last hour. In November, we met with county agency leaders and municipal leaders. Tonight, January of 2022, we're in our 3rd community engagement meeting, our 3rd of 3 from this week. We met Tuesday, Wednesday, and met tonight. April of 2022, we'll prepare draft existing conditions report. And then in the spring of 2022, we'll come back with community advisory group meetings. And I want to note that the municipality a recording of the municipality meeting and a complete streets presentation are on the project website. And Nakia is going to drop the project website in the chat so that you can link, so you can click on that link to get directly to the project website. I got a comment from Bradley. Just make sure we'll need to leave soon, but thanks for facilitating a great session. Thank you, Bradley, for coming. Much appreciated, taking the time out tonight to meet with us. We know that your time's very valuable. Definitely appreciate it. All righty, so project schedule, the next steps. July of 2021, the planning board had its initiation. In April, we're gonna have the staff existing conditions analysis done. July of 2022, this is tentative, we're gonna have our staff draft plan. And in November of 2022, the public release of the staff draft plan. Again, that's a tentative date that could push a little bit depending on how long the existing conditions analysis report takes. January of 2023, we'll do our first joint public hearing. Then April of 2023, we'll have the planning board adoption. June of 2023, we'll have council approval and amendments. And then September of 2023, we'll have approval with second joint public hearing. And so that leads us to engagement opportunities. So first thing, we have an online survey. Nakia just posted the Survey Monkey link in the chat. We opened up this survey on Tuesday night and it will run through February 25th. You can complete the survey tonight, or you can wait to complete it anytime between now and the 25th. It'll provide us with more additional feedback to make sure that we're not missing anything from the community. We're also offering virtual office hours. So every Monday and Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m., you can meet one-on-one with a planning specialist. Nakia is going to put that link in the chat as well if you want to sign up for that. This will give you an additional opportunity to provide input on this important planning effort. The virtual office hours are a great opportunity to speak one-on-one with the community planner about this project specifically. And that link is in the chat now along with the survey. And then we're going to continue to do community outreach throughout the duration of the project, but our next community outreach meeting is going to be, like I discussed the prior slide, spring of 2022 when we come back for our community advisory groups. All righty, so Nakia has dropped the link for the website in the chat. If you, we use a bit.ly to shorten it, it's bit.ly/mpot2035. We also encourage you to email our project manager, Crystal Saunders Hancock, at crystal.hancock@ppd.mncppc.org. Nakia has dropped Crystal's email address into the chat. And you can also email Judith Howerton, who is the deputy project manager, judith.howerton@ppd.mncppc.org. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the same handle. It's @PGPlanningMD. And with that, we are at the end of the presentation. We will take any questions if you'd like to come off of mute and ask any additional questions or provide any comments. You're more than welcome to right now. And I'll let about 60 seconds. If I don't hear any questions, then we'll wrap up this meeting. I see Janet's hand, so Janet, go ahead.
I think this was a very interesting meeting, but I want to say two things. One is about scheduling these meetings. To me, I mean, I don't know how many people you were expecting to get, but this is a terrible time for a meeting, 6 to 8 p.m. Who's going to come to a meeting right in the middle of dinner time? Anyway, we did the same scheduling for the climate action meetings. I'm like, no wonder nobody comes. I mean, it's just a bad time for meeting. I think when you schedule public meetings, you should think, and they shouldn't all be in the evening. I mean, some people can come in the evening. There's some people who just totally will never be able to come to an evening meeting, and you should have some other kind of time, like Saturday morning at 10 o'clock or nap time on Sunday afternoon or something. Anyway, you get a select group of people, and you probably do not get any families with children, for instance, at this particular meeting time. So anyway, I'm just throwing that at you. And the other thing is the structure of these questions. I mean, I know it's hard to analyze complicated, people's feedback. So you have to sort of figure out how are you going to answer questions that it's easy to analyze the answers. But I just was feeling during the questions that they didn't really collect the kind of information that I think you need to make a good equitable transportation system. I mean, it was too general.
Gotcha. Okay, I've taken down, thank you for both of those comments. I've taken both of those down. We will bring those back to the project team. Definitely appreciate that feedback. But thank you very much, Janet, for both of those.
But it wasn't you, it's the system, you did great.
Understood. No offense taken. All right.
Yeah,
Do we
Tim,
have
I'm
any
sorry.
other-
I don't know if I think you mentioned the office hours, but I might have just not caught that part. But I don't know if you shared the availability of those on
Yes.
weekdays.
Yeah, so it's Monday and Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. up in the chat. If you're interested in signing up for office hours, you can click the link that Nakia provided right above Judith's email address. You'll see that link, and you can provide, specific one-on-one comments, during that time. That's also a different type of approach, in terms of a big public meeting versus, individual questions being answered.
I don't see a link for the office hour scheduling on your project website. It might be helpful to add that link to the project website.
Okay, I'll have to check on that. I'm making a note on that. On the website. All right, well, I'll definitely take a look at that after this meeting is over. But yeah, if you just use the link that's in the chat for now, and we will investigate that after we're done tonight. All right, do we have any other questions? If not, it's about 7:38, so we went a little bit over the 60 minutes, but I think we did get a lot accomplished tonight. I want to thank everybody for your questions. We appreciate the questions at the end. We appreciate you providing feedback throughout the night. So thanks again for attending the Master Plan of Transportation 2035 Countywide Community Engagement Meeting. We want to continue to hear from you, so please take a few minutes to help us by filling out the survey in the chat after the meeting. Nakia, our moderator, placed the survey link in the chat. For more project information, you can visit the project website. That link is also in the chat. And as Alex said in the chat, thank you all for your detailed and helpful feedback. And we will, as we said, we will take all of this back to the team, and we appreciate you being with us tonight. So this meeting is over. We hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening and has a great weekend. And we will hopefully see you either at the virtual meeting hours or at our next public meeting event. So thanks a lot, and have a great Friday and a great week.
Thanks.
Thank you.